Well, folks, it's time for another Dreamquest. Every official Sega Dreamcast game ever released in release order. I'm back with some more beautiful 4K captures directly from a real Dreamcast console, courtesy of the wonderful Morph 4K. And in a shocking turn of events, this episode is dominated by Western releases, you know, the ones in English and stuff, coinciding more or less with the console's US and European launch window. Of course, in theory, I should actually be able to make both head and tail of these here games, but unfortunately, a number of them are American sports titles, which to a limey like me are almost as incomprehensible as the cavalcade of Japanese mahjong games I've had to wade through so far on this magnificent Dreamquest. I'm exaggerating, of course. I had a decent bit of fun with them, actually. A handful of recently released English translations will feature in this episode, so that's cool, and we will end on an all-time Dreamcast classic that coincidentally is due to see a revival in the near future, all being well. Yes, sirree, Bob, it's the longest episode yet, so grab yourself a bottle of Sunny D, close your Nokia 8110 banana phone, shut down MSN Messenger, and join me for a veritable torrent of Y2K goodness. Y2K. Everything was just so great back then, don't you think? Oh, wait.
2000 Will 2K, the new millennium, millennium.
Dreamcast!
Trickstyle is a futuristic racing video game developed by Criterion Games and published by Acclaim Entertainment for the Dreamcast and Microsoft Windows, set in the future. The player takes part in stunt-filled hoverboard races through London, Tokyo and Manhattan, or inside a massive arena called the Velodrome. Airblade by Criterion and Namco is a spiritual successor. The game received mixed reviews from critics who praised its graphics and physics but criticised its gameplay, animations and sound. This was a launch game in the UK, and it was one of those ones I used to see on the corner-mounted CRTs in game shops in those days, around launch time. It was very impressive indeed. Right away you can see the Dreamcast flexing its muscles with all its transparencies and wobbly, nebula, sparkly type things that the Sega Saturn was in desperately short supply of. This was made by Criterion Games in the UK, and as we all know, Criterion Games were very good, having been responsible for one of my favourite racing games of all time, Burnout 2. And Burnout 1, and all the other ones, but I like Burnout 2 the best. How does it play? Well, it's tricky. See what I did there? This one really needed a better frame rate for it to really cook, I think, unfortunately. The PC version might be the one to investigate, although I'm sure it would have run even worse on PCs back in 1999, to be fair, seeing as the Dreamcast's graphics chip was very powerful indeed upon its release. It has a very cool soundtrack. It's trying to Wipeout, really. The art design is not as good as that series in my opinion, and neither is the gameplay, to be honest, although it is absolutely trying to do its own thing, unlike Extreme G and games like that which were rather more derivative. And you know, the engine is certainly impressive. Criterion would go on to better things with Burnout though. Still, a game well worth trying in my opinion. 77 based on 40 reviews. That's about fair, I'd say.
Second down. Third down. Fourth down.
NFL Blitz 2000 is a video game released in the arcades in 1999 and then ported to the PlayStation, N64, Dreamcast, Windows and Game Boy Color. It is the third game in the NFL Blitz series. Steve Bauman of Computer Games Strategy Plus gave the PC version 4 stars out of 5, saying, "It's just that sort of attitude that shows NFL Blitz 2000 is ultimately bad for you. It'll make you relish those late hits, laugh at those painful groin injuries and pulled hamstrings, and give your gamepad the fiercest workout imaginable. But it's still, in the words of the in-game announcer, totally uncalled for, but awfully fun to watch." Don't know what that meant, really, do you? Michael Lafferty of GameZone gave the same PC version 6.9 out of 10, calling it a nice diversion from the games geared towards hardcore fans. Tom Russo of Next Gen said the Dreamcast version was as fast and fun as it ever was, but lacking the depth and one-player replayability of Sega's own NFL 2K. We'll see that one a little later in the show. Needless to say, I don't really understand American football, but I went into this with an open mind. It's certainly funny, it's a good laugh. You can batter players after the whistle has gone, which is always a good time. You kind of line up there and then you get a screen full of hieroglyphics for each play, I think they call it, and then everybody has a big fight. No, I'm just kidding. I got absolutely battered when I started playing this game because I didn't know what I was doing really, but I did manage to get a touchdown towards the end. This one obviously takes an arcadey approach to football, and it certainly has its charms. Although there are 2 other football games in this list, I think this one belongs in the middle of those 3. 75 based on 18 reviews.
San Francisco. Bit much a half.
Hydro Thunder is an arcade inshore powerboat racing video game originally released by Midway Games in February 1999 and later released for the Sega Dreamcast as a launch title later that year. It was also released for the PlayStation and N64 in early 2000. This game is part of Midway's Thunder series of racing games, which includes Off-Road Thunder, Four-Wheel Thunder, and Arctic Thunder. Hydro Thunder Hurricane, a sequel to Hydro Thunder, was later released for the 360 on July 27, 2010 on Xbox Live Arcade. The Dreamcast version received favourable reviews, while the N64 and PS1 versions received mixed or average reviews, according to the review aggregation website Game Rankings. The gameplay of Hydro Thunder is similar to Sega's Daytona USA, according to this. I didn't like that. It consists of racing high-tech speedboats through treacherous environments from the cold seas of the Arctic Circle to a post-apocalyptic version of New York City. Scattered across the tracks are blue and red boost icons. When touched, these icons allow the player who touched them to boost. Imagine that. The red boost icons are more scarce than blue boost icons because they give you more boost fuel. Can you say boost again, please? When a player has boost fuel, thank you, they may use the boost button to boost, which increases the boat speed and allows the player to knock other boats into the air, a feature described by the game as the mighty hull. Another aspect of boosting is the hydro jump, which is performed by braking and using the boost button. Boost, boost, boost. When combined with the many ramps on the tracks, players can reach shortcuts and boost icons that would otherwise be inaccessible. I'm glad that's finished. Boost, boost, boost. Yeah, this game is a really good laugh. It has a good solid frame rate. The Dreamcast version of the game has graphics that are more detailed and closer to the arcade version than the other console versions. Some very nice effects. Look at this reflection type stuff here. It's a good time. It's kind of like a water-based Burnout really, although this predates that series, of course, by a couple of years. The presentation is cheap and cheerful in the best possible way, and it always feels good in the hand. Very addictive stuff. I might even go as far as to say that this is a minor Dreamcast classic. If you've never given it a try before, you absolutely should. 74 based on 28 reviews. I think that's a little bit harsh.
Choose your destiny. Round 1. Fight!
Mortal Kombat Gold is a 1999 fighting game in the Mortal Kombat series that was published by Midway Home Entertainment. It was developed by Eurocom and released exclusively on the Dreamcast as a launch title in the West. It is an updated version of 1997's Mortal Kombat 4 and was the first game to appear on a 6th generation platform, as well as the only Mortal Kombat game to be released for the Dreamcast, apparently. Is that right? Critical reaction was mostly average due to the graphics being inferior to the arcade version, the weapons deemed boring or useless, and game-breaking bugs and glitches. Mortal Kombat Gold's gameplay is largely based on that of Mortal Kombat 4 and includes several additional characters and stages not seen in Mortal Kombat 4, as well as a new weapons selection mechanism. New stages include Church, Ladder, Netherrealm, and Soul Chamber. I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but I don't really like Mortal Kombat. I always found it to be quite a miserable experience. That's just my opinion. I much preferred Street Fighter 2 back in the day. I could certainly look at the sprite work of those early entries in the series though and enjoy myself, you know? There was some interest in looking at those digitized actors whizzing around the screen, throwing fireballs at one another and punching people in the nuts. This one doesn't have any sprite work, unfortunately, though. It's in very lo-fi 3D. It lacks the texture and the atmosphere of the earlier games in the series for me, and yeah, it's really quite drab in my opinion. 57 based on 19 reviews.
Wins. Time is money. Forge this. I'll pick one. British sailors earned the nickname limeys by eating fruit to fend off this disease. Well, all right.
Hi there. Now we're gonna play a little memory game, okay? I want you to watch me spank this monkey's asses and memorize the order that I spanked them in, okay? Then I want you to repeat the sequence, okay? Ready? Now pay attention, okay? Now remember what I told you, okay? Go ahead and spank the monkey like I told you, okay? Now that was pretty good, okay? Now let's try something a little harder, okay? Ready? Now
South Park Chef's Love Shack is a 2D game show style party video game and is a sequel to the 1998 video game South Park, itself based on the American animated sitcom of the same name. Developed by Acclaim Studios Austin and published by Acclaim Entertainment, it was released in '99 for the Dreamcast, Windows, PlayStation, and N64. Its gameplay involves playing minigames and the ability to play against other players in a challenge for the most points. It also involves trivia questions about South Park and other topics. Chef's Love Shack was met with mixed reviews. It is the second of 3 South Park video games developed by Acclaim after South Park in '98 and preceding South Park Rally in 2000. This is a fun little multiplayer title if you're not playing on your own like me, little Billy No Mates. It is quite funny, as it should be really, shouldn't it, as a South Park game? It should really have been a budget title though, really. South Park was absolutely massive, of course, back then, and if you've got it on a GDMU or whatever, it is fun to sit down for half an hour with some friends. You will get some chuckles out of it. 45 based on 20 reviews.
Rick Fox, Glenn Rice, Alan Houston, Patrick Ewing. Here's the tip, and it is showtime here. Hands off to Ewing. Ewing. Patrick Ewing.
NBA Showtime is a basketball arcade game released by Midway in '99, featuring teams and players from the National Basketball Association. The game is modelled after the NBA presentations on NBC and takes its name from NBC's NBA pre-game show. It is a successor to Midway's previous basketball titles, NBA Hangtime and NBA Jam, and is the first game in the series to have fully 3D polygonal graphics, featuring real uniforms for all teams. Showtime was also featured in a dual game cabinet along with NFL Blitz 2000 that Midway dubbed the Sports Station. Midway followed up the game with the console-exclusive NBA Hoops. The game features gameplay similar to its predecessors NBA Jam and NBA Hangtime. Rather than typical 5-on-5 action, this game features 2-on-2 play with the ability to pick 2 players from any NBA team starting lineup for the first half and can choose again for the second. The game retains the series' standard on fire feature. After a player makes 3 consecutive shots, he becomes on fire, inverted commas, which allows him to easily make shots from almost anywhere, as well as goaltend without penalty and push opponents without being charged a foul. The arcade version accommodates up to 4 players, as do the home versions produced for the N64 and Dreamcast. The preamble here amuses me. The players all have heads that are a little bit too big for their bodies, and they all sort of bob about on the screen like characters from Woody's Roundup. It's a pretty fun game. Basketball is much more self-explanatory than American football, of course, which helps people like me. The graphics are decent. It's no NBA Jam though, unfortunately. 73 based on 20 reviews. Soul Fighter is a 3D beat-em-up video game developed by Toka and published by TLC Multimedia for the Sega Dreamcast in 1999. The gameplay centers around martial arts styles of combat and using a small selection of weapons. An evil spell of Queen Antia has fallen on the kingdom of Gomar. As a mysterious mist envelops the kingdom, the inhabitants turn into vicious creatures. A fearless warrior, Atlas, a female spy, Sayomi, and a powerful wizard, Orion, have escaped the fate of their fellow villagers. They must now search for and capture souls in order to reverse the curse. I love this pound shop Sean Connery here. That's just great stuff, isn't it? Listen.
It all began when my eldest son fell tragically to his death at a hunt I had organized for his birthday.
I suddenly remember my Charlemagne. You just don't get comically shite stuff like this in games anymore, do you? It's so boring these days. Certainly knows how to gesticulate, this one.
To bring him back. They secretly turned to the forces of evil, believing they could defy death. And, blinded by my own grief, I did not discover their plan until it was almost too late.
You have the manners of a goat, and you smell like a donkey.
I, to my profound despair, had to banish them from Goma. It was only several years later when
fucking hell, he's going on a bit, isn't he? 60 FPS frame rate, very nice indeed. The frame rate here is smooth as silk, as you can see. Yeah, I remember this one kind of getting ridiculed a bit back in the day, and I've never played it before, but I thought it was a fun little arcade game, to be honest, with some very impressive animation, as you can see here. I'm assuming this was all mocapped, I don't know. It looks good anyway. It's a brawler, you know, and the combat is simplistic, but the controls work pretty well. I mean, it does a better job than many Dreamcasts do in the this controller is absolutely screaming out for a second analog stick stakes, in my opinion. It works fairly well. The presentation is funny. It's quite a lot like Dynamite Cop, really, and that's a good thing, in my opinion. Worth a try, certainly. It definitely has its charms, and certain elements of it have absolutely held up to this day. 59 based on 30 reviews. I think that's unfair. This game does exactly what it says on the tin.
Handoff goes to the running back.
NFL Quarterback Club 2000 is a sports video game developed by Acclaim Studios Austin and published by Acclaim Entertainment for N64 and Dreamcast in '99. The game received unfavourable reviews on both platforms according to the review aggregation website Game Rankings. Blake Fisher of Next Gen called the Dreamcast version a half-hearted effort with too many flaws to be considered worthy of play against the NFL 2K football juggernaut. Dr. Zombie of Game Pros said that the N64 version just doesn't measure up to Madden NFL 2000. If for some reason you find yourself Maddenless, it might be worth a rental. I know nothing of this. Again, my only real experience of American football games was playing Madden 92 on the Mega Drive when I was a very small child. So I don't have any experience at all with the game really, although I just know to pick shotgun every time because it sounds cool. I remember playing that game and injuring one of my players and an ambulance driving onto the field and smashing into the other players on its way towards me. I only ever saw this once, and for a while I thought I might have imagined it all together. But then I found this. Sorry, I'm rambling, this is not relevant whatsoever. I don't have much to say about this game other than NFL 2K by Sega themselves just seems better in every department as far as I can see, making this one seem a little bit redundant, to be honest. 49 based on 17 reviews.
Look out, Chan!
Rush him. You left, Zero.
Who will save you now?
Chan, exploit hesitations in the Titan's attack. And we have visual on the third generator.
Slave Zero is a 1999 action video game developed and published by Infogrames North America for Dreamcast, Windows 95 and Windows 98. On March 25th, 2014, Retroism re-released the game on GOG.com and, together with Night Dive Studios, to Steam. In June 2022, publisher Ziggurat Interactive, who purchased the rights to Slave Zero, announced a prequel titled Slave Zero X. Taking place 500 years in the future, the game tells the story of Liu Chen, a sinister world overlord more commonly known as Sovkhan, who rules the Earth from a massive complex called Megacity S19. The only resistance to the Sovkhan is from an ancient order of warriors known only as the Guardians. The Sovkhan's army is nearly invincible as it is and is growing by the day, his most powerful units being 60-foot-tall humanoid robots called slaves. The slaves themselves are grown from a combination of artificially created cybernetic embryos and a mysterious compound called NTR95879. Are you getting all this? Referred to as dark matter by the Guardians. Now, the Guardians' only hope of overthrowing the Sovkhan and his cybernetic army lies in a single captured slave unit which will have the mind of a specially trained Guardian agent permanently downloaded into it. The game follows Slave Zero as he wages war against the Sovkhan's forces throughout every part of Megacity S19. This game is cool, but the frame rate is very problematic. It really, really chugs. You know, this frame rate looks terrible now, in an era when everyone wants to burn developers at the stake for releasing a 30 FPS game, but it really wasn't uncommon in those days at all. In fact, it kind of was common. I go back to my 3DFX Voodoo 1 equipped retro PC at times, which was a bit of a beast, sort of 1997-ish or thereabouts, but if you tried a game like Half-Life or Unreal from a year or two later, it ran like absolute dog shit. People put up with a lot back then. This kind of chug that you see here wasn't considered good as such, don't get me wrong, it was just the reality, really. You just had to kind of get on with it. Anyway, yeah, this game is pretty good. There's some nicely stylized graphics, and the audio work is good too. It has a great deal of atmosphere. These robots are supposed to be giant, but it really just looks like it's a man-sized robot with little radio-controlled cars whizzing about at its feet. It could have used a depth of field effect or something like that, really, but that wasn't really possible until the PS2 came along with all its snazzy effects and the like. However, yes, the game is pretty good. I could find myself sinking into this one. Shame about the frame rate though. 60 based on 28 reviews. That is harsh.
Lock together. Great move.
WWF Attitude is a professional wrestling video game based on the World Wrestling Federation, of course, released by Acclaim Entertainment in '99 for the PS1 and N64. A slightly enhanced port of the game was later released for the Dreamcast. The PS1 version had been originally scheduled to be released on June 3rd, '99, but the release date was pushed back to August 5th due to the death of Owen Hart, to who the game is dedicated. Yeah, I'm not into wrestling whatsoever, but you know, it's a wrestling game. It's pretty obvious that this wasn't designed with Dreamcast in mind. The polygon counts are pretty low and reviews were fairly positive, so yeah, lots of giant sweaty men in tight pants. If that's your thing, then absolutely go for it. 57 based on 21 reviews.
That move was awesome. Just, I mean, awesome. With the
Every 100 years they try to overtake our world, and we always think we've destroyed them. But let you know, so has it, that every 100 years we are wrong.
Centipede is a 1998 action game developed by Leaping Lizard Software and a remake of Atari's 1981 arcade game of the same name. It was published by Hasbro Interactive, their first under the Atari label after purchasing the brand and former assets. Gameplay consists of a series of rounds that are completed once the player eliminates the centipedes that wind down the playing field. Obstacles such as spiders, fleas, and scorpions complicate the game. At the same time, a population of mushrooms grows between the player and each centipede. Originally, the player is tasked with rescuing villagers and bystanders and preventing damage to key structures, although ignoring these tasks does not prevent the player from being able to complete the round regardless. The game received mixed reviews on all platforms, according to the review aggregation website Game Rankings. Chris Charlotte of Next Gen said of the PS1 version in its September 1999 issue, "A solid 3D shooter with a nice, if young, story." What does that mean? "Makes this a great game for your little brother, but don't be surprised if you find yourself playing a few games too." 5 issues later, Adam Pavlaka said that the Dreamcast version may look good in 3D, but the the classic version of the game is still more fun. Yeah, I don't really get these reviews because I played it and I thought it was absolutely terrible. Is this the worst looking game on Dreamcast? I mean, I haven't seen anything quite as bad as this so far on my Dreamquest, at least. Yeah, this one is terrible as far as I'm concerned. It's ugly and it's slow as hell. I can't think why they thought anybody would buy this. It's shite. I suppose older fans of the original game might be tempted to pick it up, but it's really terribly ugly and the frame rate is appalling for some inexplicable reason. These graphics are so simplistic. If a Dreamcast can run Sonic Adventure, it can certainly run this. Yeah, very poor in my opinion. 43 based on 5 reviews.
The Armada hit us hard, but it could not kill us. And then we scattered. Fragmented is more like it. And each shard of humanity grew as diverse as it did strong. But we kept things together. The Great Alliance is proof of that. Who would have thought that all of us could work together, united against the common foe? Some would say it's a golden age of cooperation, but the price of our freedom is high, and it is time for you to earn it.
Armada is a video game developed and published by Metro 3D. It was released for the Dreamcast in North America in November 1999. Armada is a shooter role-playing game that allows up to 4 players to fly about the universe, fighting the enemy, performing missions and improving their ship. Earth has been destroyed by the unfathomable Armada, giant space aliens of unknown origin with an unknown purpose. Fleeing in whatever was available, humanity took to the stars in a desperate attempt to survive. Eons later, humans have split into 6 distinct groups who maintain a shaky alliance against the Armada. In May 1999, the game was revealed to be a massively multiplayer online role-playing game in development for the Sega Dreamcast. It was planned to be released as a launch title, but was delayed until late September or early October of that year. And in the end, it actually came out on November 19th. This is a weird one. It's online, so obviously I'm doing it a disservice playing it offline. I don't really know what's going on, but it's certainly stiff, and it's not a great deal of fun. Certainly an interesting concept, and some of the graphics are reasonably nice, but more than that I cannot say. Did anyone play this back in the day? Did anybody play it online? Please let me know in the comments below. It gets 65 based on 15 reviews. Worms Armageddon is a 1999 turn-based strategy video game developed and published by Team 17 as part of the Worms series. In the game, the player controls a team of up to 8 earthworms tasked with defeating an opposing team using a wide range of weapons at their disposal. The game takes place on a destructible and customizable 2-dimensional board and is characterized by cartoonish graphics and a unique brand of humor. Worms Armageddon was acclaimed by critics who praised the refined gameplay and stylized graphics, and it has been featured in a number of greatest games of all time lists. Worms Armageddon on PC is still updated periodically, most recently Unfortunately, in 2020, the game was succeeded by Worms World Party 2001, which added further content without drastic changes, and which was the last 2D-based Worms game before the series moved to 3D. This game was absolutely awesome on PC back in the day. It's not quite as good with a controller, of course, but it is still absolutely fun. It definitely works on Dreamcast. This game is as British as it comes, really. The humour, the holy hand grenade, everything about it just reminds me of being in high school in England in the 90s, in the best possible way. This game featured online play, and it's the perfect candidate for a 64K modem. In fact, I think it was 33K in Europe in the end. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it worked pretty well online, and my god, was it addictive. It's a great game, a clean, cartoon style, responsive controls, super fun weaponry, funny little voices, and highly compulsive gameplay. This is one of those games that absolutely plays as well now as it ever did. It's brilliant. Give it a try. 77 based on 17 reviews. I think it deserves better than that. Fighting Force 2 is a beat-em-up video game developed by Core Design and published by Eidos Interactive for the PS1 and Dreamcast. It's a sequel to Fighting Force. Unlike its predecessor, the game was not released for Windows or the N64, though its Dreamcast version was released. Set in the not-too-distant future, human cloning has become a reality, but has been banned by international treaties. The Nakmish Corporation is suspected of researching cloning, and mercenary Hawk Manson is set on a covert mission to investigate. It features hand-to-hand and weapons-based combat like the original game, but does not include multiplayer support. While it includes more weapons and larger levels than its predecessor, the sequel includes only one playable character this time around, Hawk Manson. Unlike its predecessor, which received some decent reviews, Fighting Force 2 was not very successful, receiving mixed reviews on both platforms. Blake Fisher of Next Gen said in its February 2000 issue that the PS1 version is solid, but ultimately uninspiring. You'll burn out on this game long before you beat it. One issue later, Jeff Lundgren,
Clark W. Grisman,
of the same magazine, called the Dreamcast version the very definition of a 2-star game. Perhaps competent, certainly uninspired. This game, playing it today, it's incredibly dull. The combat and general movement is, even for the time, very clunky. It's a weird one, really, because, you know, games usually like to show you something in their opening level. It doesn't have to be action-packed necessarily, but, you know, give me some atmosphere, or some cool music, or an explosion, or something.
Come on, show me something. You ain't nothing. Show me something. You tired already. Look at you, sucker.
This one really offers nothing, except corridor after corridor of duplicate enemies. Make sure to batter every inanimate object you find, or you might miss the key for the next door and then be forced to backtrack. You'll be backtracking a great deal. In fact, you'll be begging to leave this opening level by the time you reach the end of it. Unless you're me and you turned it off when you fell into this pool of electric goo shite and lost patience with it altogether. I did not enjoy my time with this one. 55 based on 21 reviews. Hawk Manson.
For many thousands of years, the Shadowmen have protected the world of the living against threats crossing over from the spiritual plane known as Deadside, the place where everyone goes without exception when they die. Michael Leroy is the current heir to the mysteries of this ancient lineage, bearer of the Mask of Shadows. When darkness falls, he becomes the walker between the worlds, immortal voodoo warrior, taker of souls, Lord of Deadside, the Shadowman.
Feared, the end's common Shadowman. An ancient prophecy tells of the return of a great evil to Deadside, a terrible force gathering dark souls to its darker heart and using their power to cross over into this world and bring about apocalypse.
I must stop this evil from bringing about the end of all things.
Only you can do it, Shadowman. You are the walker between the worlds. I can't go Deadside, and Jaunty's next to useless in both worlds.
Damn.
Shadowman is an action-adventure video game developed by Acclaim Studios T-Side and published by Acclaim Entertainment. It's based on the Shadowman comic book series published by Valiant Comics. The game was announced in '97, originally slated for a late '98 release on N64, but was delayed to August 31st, '99. A PlayStation version was also released on the same day. A Dreamcast version was released 3 months later on December 1st. In 1888, Jack the Ripper, lamenting the fact that his ritualistic murders have not unlocked a mystical power that he believes to exist, prepares to perform the ritual upon himself at the expense of his own life. A man named Legion appears and tells Jack that the power he seeks does exist and offers to share this power with him if Jack constructs an insane asylum for like-minded killers in Deadside, the land of the dead. Proclaiming, "For we are many," Jack commits suicide. Definitely one for the kiddies, this. In the present day, Michael Leroy becomes the current Shadowman, a lineage of voodoo warriors who protect the world of the living, known as Liveside, from threats crossing over from Deadside, after the voodoo priestess Mama Nettie bonds the masks of shadows to him. Yeah, I haven't played this one a great deal. I missed it at the time, but my missus is a big fan and we spent quite a few hours with it together. She has completed the thing and she absolutely enjoys it. It has style and wit and atmosphere, and it's a very intriguing concept. The Dreamcast version was the best of the original releases, bit of a cult classic really, and of course it was remastered recently by Night Dive Studios, which speaks of its enduring appeal. This one is absolutely worth revisiting. 81 based on 28 reviews. It is some high quality software for your Sega Dreamcast console. Test Drive 6 is a racing video game developed by Pitbull Syndicate for PlayStation, Microsoft Windows and Dreamcast. The game features 37 licensed cars plus 4 police car variants. As a first for the series, cars from General Motors are not playable in this game due to licensing issues. Instead, they appear as traffic cars. The soundtrack features industrial rock and techno music from artists such as Fear Factory, Lunatic Calm and Cirrus. Test Drive 6 is an arcade racing game similar to previous titles in this series. The game features single race, race menu, career mode, and a split-screen multiplayer mode. Single race allows players to choose a car and track and play it without any other requirements or repercussions of career mode. Likewise, this mode has a small selection of cars from all races available, even if the player has not unlocked or purchased them in the race menu. Wow, if I'd known this had Gary Newman in it, I probably would have given it a whirl already. Fear Factory, remember them? Man, that's so 90s. It's a Fear Factory cover of Cars. Can it be a cover if the original guy is singing in it? I don't know. If a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? I don't know that either. It is a decent cover, actually, although I've always preferred the Bill Bailey version myself. Anyway, how's the game? Well, it doesn't play badly actually, but the slowdown is absolutely atrocious. This game is very clearly of PS1 origin. It's very plain for Dreamcast, and it has a hint of that PS1 wobbly vertices vibe to it. So why does it slow down so much on a much more powerful system? I've no idea, really. I don't really see any excuse for it, to be honest. You can see it chugging away here. It's really pretty nasty, and this obviously is particularly bad in a racing game. It needs a consistent frame rate. Shame really, because the base game is not bad. 60 based on 13 reviews. Wetrix Plus is a 3D puzzle game developed by Z2, the studio of brothers Steve and John Pickford, for the N64 and PC in 1998 and the Dreamcast and Game Boy Color in 1999. The player's goal is to hold water bubbles falling on a 3D isometric landscape. To do this, enclosures are created with uppers, which fall in a similar manner to Tetris blocks that raise the ground. While water can be evaporated with fireballs, hazards such as mines, ice cubes, and earthquakes also fall and ruin the player's construction. The Pickfords conceived a Tetris-esque puzzle game out of a water demo they worked on for another one of their Z2 games, the hack-and-slash Vampire Circus. The biggest focus during design was on the basic elements' interaction with each other, as well as the puzzle game's style's originality. The use of falling blocks was the only similarity between Wetrix and Tetris. The N64 version sold over 105,000 units in the West and just above 12,000 in Japan, while the PC version sold 30,000 copies. It was generally well received by critics, who applauded its addictiveness and original concept, but were critical of the limited camera mobility and divided on its difficulty, steep learning curve, and two-player mode. It garnered the highest rating for a review of a Western-developed title from the Japanese magazine Famitsu Weekly in years. The critical and commercial success motivated Imagineer, developers of the Game Boy Color port, to commission Z2 to develop a sequel, the PS2 launch title Aqua Aqua, which made few alterations to the main gameplay. This game is fun and intriguing. I don't know how to play it properly, as you can see here, but I enjoy it anyway. It has really cool music and a cool style overall. I like the artwork here. I would like to investigate it further, and I might well do in the near future, but I can't right now because I've got 7,000 Dreamcast games to plough through. Give this one a whirl. I think it's certainly worth more than the 67 based on 21 reviews that it received, according to the good folks at Sega Retro.
Welcome everybody, well coming up now, an exhibition match in which, with no pressure on, we could well see a flowing open game. It's Manchester United versus Chelsea. Time to pass you over to Peter and Trevor.
Thank you, James, and welcome to a very wintry scene here. Christmas card scenes really surround us as we prepare for kick-off.
Well, I think it's a good job they're using the orange ball, Peter, because we definitely wouldn't see the white one. Long time since I've seen so much snow, and the main problem I think would be for the linesmen.
Trevor Brookin fucking waffling on as he always did. For those who don't know, this man had a quite incredible knack for forming sentences that lasted for minutes on end, punctuated only by frequent drones of wow, and yeah. I'm kidding, he's a TV legend, we all miss him dearly. Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000 is a football game for the Sega Dreamcast and a sequel to Sega Worldwide Soccer 98. It was only released in Europe, as was its localized update, Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000 Euro Edition. Technology-wise, this game builds on Michael Owen's World League Soccer 99 for the PlayStation, also developed by Silicon Dreams. It's also likely related to Michael Owen's World League Soccer 2000, an N64 attempt.
And this is no ordinary chopper. It's got special powers, and once we're airborne, you'll see just what I mean. Are you buckled up and ready? Great. Let's go and see Dubai. It may look a bit small from up here, but it is quite large.
This game has a lot of teams with the real player names, which is a good thing, but it's not a good football game, unfortunately. Although in fairness, pretty much everything was terrible in those days compared to Pro Evolution Soccer. It really was the gold standard. I had the Michael Owen sponsored thing on N64, and this is indeed pretty much the same game. Pro Evo was just head and shoulders above the competition. The Dreamcast never got a killer football game, unfortunately, but there were numerous middling attempts like this. There was no FIFA and no Pro Evo. It probably really did hurt the console quite a bit in Europe, in hindsight. That is a shame, but what can we do? It doesn't really play well, the physics are rather unsophisticated. The players all celebrate like absolute bellends out of a Guy Ritchie film or something. This is definitely not Paul Scholes. Meh. 60 based on 18 reviews.
I'm throwing on the afterburners, so hold on.
Toy Commander is a 1999 action game developed by No Cliché and published by Sega for the Dreamcast. The game's plot revolves around a child named Andy, heard that somewhere before, who gets new army-themed toys for Christmas and neglects his childhood favourites. The toys, led by Huggy Bear and his childhood teddy bear, rebel and try to destroy the new toys. Each boss in the game has taken over a specific area of the house, serving as one of Huggy Bear's generals. The player must complete missions by controlling toys, usually in the form of vehicles. These missions take place in rooms of a house. The game is known for its unique tasks themed around various household areas. For instance, the first mission is a basic training level involving swapping vehicles of different types, including a helicopter pickup and plane. Meanwhile, the second level involves using a toy car to roll eggs over to a pot of boiling water. A battle mode with other modes is also available in the game for multiple players, allowing up to 4 players with no online play. The game's executive producer, David Chomard, stated that the original idea for Toy Commander comes from Didier Chamfray, our artistic director and our creative director. The basic idea was to fly small planes and fight in a house. Then the idea of having plenty of small missions with different styles of gameplay and vehicles was added. Finally, the storyline of the Rebellion of Toys was added to the game. According to him, they attempted to avoid any comparison to Toy Story, but acknowledged that the studio were big fans of Micro Machines, and it's true we took it as a reference of a good game with small cars. That didn't entirely make sense, but I think you get the idea. The game received favourable reviews. According to the review aggregation website Game Rankings, Brandon Justice of IGN said the strong sense of atmosphere can be attributed in large part to the game's subtle but spectacular visuals, and added most of the time the game finds a nice balance between challenging and competitively frustrating. Yeah, like most people, I've always really liked this game, even though it's tough as old balls. The atmosphere is great. It has a strong Euro, particularly French, of course, vibe to it, which I've always enjoyed. It's a unique game, a minor classic even, and it's always one that I return to whenever I whip out my Dreamcast. 77 based on 37 reviews. I think it deserves a little better than that, personally. Hanagumi Taisen Columns 2, also known as Battle Columns 2, is a puzzle game based on the Sakura Wars franchise, featuring a story mode, battle mode, endless columns mode, and a puzzle mode with online multiplayer capabilities through the Hanagumi Battle Columns 2 network match service. It's been translated into English recently by some awesome folks on the Interslice, thanks to all of them. So, how's the game? Yeah, it's one of these again. You match the jewels and stuff. It's quite nicely presented. Good, certainly, if you're into Sakura Wars. It's hard to talk in any great depth about one of these games because they're all good, really, aren't they? But they're all also very formulaic. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, of course. This one has little to distinguish itself other than the Sakura Wars license. 80, based on 5 reviews.
Let's get ready to rumble! I have enhanced superior training.
Ready to Rumble Boxing is a boxing video game developed by Midway Studios San Diego and published by Midway in September 1999 for the Dreamcast. Like Nintendo's Punch-Out series, Ready to Rumble Boxing features many characters with colourful personalities, i.e. Afro Thunder, Boris the Bear, Nokimov, etc, etc. However, unlike the Punch-Out series, the game is in 3D, thus allowing for more control over one's character in the ring. Also, unlike Punch-Out, players can choose whichever boxer they want from a rather large selection of characters. During the fight, there's a special rumble meter which fills up 1 or 2 letters at a time until the word rumble is spelled at the bottom of the screen. Letters can be obtained by successfully landing hard blows. Most such actions will yield 1 letter, though some particularly strong punches may yield more. Once the meter's full, the player can power himself up, enabling access to a special combo called Rumble Flurry, activated by pressing a button combination. Each character's flurry is unique to them and consists of a series of punches which do a larger amount of damage if landed successfully. One unique graphical feature of the game is the gradual bruises gained by players as the fight progresses, like hematomas and swelling, present in all 5th generation versions. While this is not necessarily a new feature to games, it's been implemented before in SNK's 1992 game Art of Fighting. It garnered much appraisal from reviewers because of the added fun factor this element supplied to the game. It also looked really impressive at the time also. Most importantly, ring announcer Michael Buffer appears in the game as himself. This one's fun. It's damn fun. I remember this being another launch window game in the UK, and I remember specifically playing this very game at one of those super cool Dreamcast kiosks they had in shops back in 1999. Man, that's a long time ago now. It looked absolutely amazing at the time, and you know, it's aged very well actually. It still looks solid today, and absolutely pin sharp too. As you can see, the faces and the animation are still very good. I just had to go for Big Willie Johnson here. I'm sorry for those people from countries other than the UK watching. Willie is another word for cock. He's a Cheshire boy like me as well by the looks of it. The accent isn't right whatsoever, but never mind.
Let me show you something.
I absolutely had to pick this guy, but unfortunately I then got battered senseless. So then I picked the Mike Tyson looking dude instead and started having some joy. This one is a very good time, particularly in 2-player. 84 based on 43 reviews.
I was gonna lose?
Techromancer is a 1998 3D fighting arcade game by Capcom that draws heavily from the various subgenres of mecha anime. It was later ported to the Dreamcast console. The player controls a giant robot which is used to fight another robot in one-on-one combat. Studio New designed the robots in this game. There's another supreme bit of Japlish coming up, folks. Strap yourselves in. The setting of Techromancer takes place in a far future of Earth where advanced technology have made things calm and decent for the citizens of Japan and the rest of the world. However, the peace doesn't last long as an evil alien tyrant named Goldibus invades the planet with its loyal followers and seeks to conquer the world while enslaving the human race with an emotionless iron fist. An unlikely group of heroes band together to fight against the threat of Goldibus with their own unique mecha robots, and all of them won't rest until Goldibus is defeated and the world is safe from the imminent danger. Smooth as silk. The game is primarily played in 2 modes, Story Mode and Hero Challenge Mode. The Dreamcast also has mini-games that could be played on the VMU for additional points. It received favourable reviews in Japan. Famitsu gave it a score of 29 out of 40, just 1 point short of the Silver Award Editor's Choice. This is a decent game. It has a nice little story with a very fun intro, a cool campy style. It's rather clunky, but it's fun. It has that very frantic Capcom style where you can't really tell what's going on at all, but it's fun regardless. Certainly one worth investigating if you're a fan of 3D beat-em-ups like what I is. 75 based on 32 reviews.
Will the champs come back to win yet another Super Bowl? Or will they be dethroned along the way? Will it be an era of offense? Or will the crushing defense of yesteryear return?
I'm Dan Stevens with Peter O'Keefe, and the NFL on the Sega Sports Network is about to begin. Peter, what do you think of this matchup?
To be competitive in this tough AFC West, the Chargers need to dig deep in their quest out of mediocrity. The biggest challenge here is to put together an offense that'll keep them in the games until the very end. A truly tough task for this struggling franchise.
Kicks away. And at the end of the return, he gets taken down. First and 10. He stopped short of the line of scrimmage.
NFL 2K is an American football video game series developed by Visual Concepts and published by Sega. The series was originally exclusive to Sega's Dreamcast video game console due to the absence of EA Sports' Madden NFL series on the system. The series was introduced by Sega to address EA Sports' decision not to publish games, including the Madden NFL series, for the Dreamcast. The first installment, NFL 2K, was released exclusively for the system in time for its September 9th, 1999 launch in North America. All 31 NFL teams were included in the game, including the returning Browns, along with the alumni teams and all-pro teams for the AFC, NFC, and NFL. The game received a positive reception upon its release, with praises for its visuals, presentation, and overall gameplay. This one has very impressive graphics for the time, and it was a huge hit in the USA, where it was the biggest selling launch title in that region. Slick presentation all around. If I understood NFL even remotely, I'm sure I would really enjoy this. Again, you have to pick one of those big star maps here, that's the Big Dipper there, isn't it? And plough straight into some big sweaty men while carrying a ball that isn't really a ball. I'm being silly, of course. I enjoyed my time with this one. It's a very high quality title. I even managed to get a touchdown.
Brister is going for the score, and he's in. A 20-yard play for the touchdown.
Of the 3 American football games I've looked at in this episode, this one is surely the best. And the gameplay holds up well today, I would say. 85 based on 13 reviews. Densha de Go 2, translated as Go by Train, ! 2, high speed volume, is a train simulator part of the Densha de Go series. It was released in the arcades in Japan in '98. It was ported to PS1, N64, WonderSwan, Neo Geo, Pocket Color, Windows, Dreamcast, and Game Boy Color. With 13 vehicles on 16 missions, there are 7 main lines. I'm not going to even try and pronounce them all. The player is given an allotted amount of time to bring their train to the next station, as well as a fixed time that the train is expected to arrive. If the player goes around curves too fast, stops suddenly, or incurs other such dangers of train operation, a few seconds are taken away from the remaining time they have to complete their task. There were special controllers released specifically for this game, which make it a lot more fun, I should imagine. Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a cat in hell's chance here, have I really? Look at all that Japanese on the screen. But I did manage to get the train moving at least, and I also learned how to beep my horn. This hasn't been upgraded much from the original arcade and PS1 releases. As you can see, it looks really quite terrible, really, for a Dreamcast game, but I guess that's part of the charm. I've always fancied quite getting into this series, to be honest, but I've never quite plucked up the courage to buy one of those giant controllers you can see on eBay. I'm sure it's good stuff, but I certainly would be playing some sort of English version of this title. 68 based on 3 reviews. Lovely beach scene here. I could stay here all day. Seven Mansions Ghastly Smile is a survival horror video game published by Koi, released on January 20th, 2000 for the Sega Dreamcast. This was in fact planned to be released in the Western Hemisphere, but was later cancelled, unfortunately. The game's a sequel to the 96 Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn game Nanatsu no Hikan. This game has recently had a full English translation, which is a really great thing. That includes the whole script of the game, the graphics, assets, subtitles for the videos, and the audio files that affect the gameplay. They've really gone the whole hog with this one, and I very much appreciate their effort. Players control either Kay or Rainer and search New Russell Island. Is that where Russell Brand lives now? In search of the missing Dr. Ernest. Strange experimental horrors await them as they uncover a sinister plan that will change the very shape of the world. Not literally, I hope. The effort these translation folks have gone to here is amazing. They've re-encoded the videos, it seems. Awesome, folks. Thanks again. You're really doing God's work. Yeah, it's an interesting title, and I could feel myself soaking into this one, but unfortunately, I've got a 5-year-old girl, a job, and 8 million Dreamcast games to plough through, so I can't do right now. However, my job is not to play these things exhaustively, it's to give you folks a taste of the huge variety of Dreamcast games on offer so that you can go and do some exploring for yourselves. It's obviously not a big budget game, but it is an ambitious one, it seems. Looks to be rendered in 240p, which is a bit disappointing, and it's a rather scrappy looking game and the controls are clunky, but you know, the visuals do their job and the sound design is good. It has a strong sense of place, and it is very atmospheric. 58 based on 8 reviews. Rainbow Cotton is a 2000 rail shooter video game developed and published by Success exclusively for the Dreamcast. The 5th installment in the Cotton franchise, it's a follow-up to Panorama Cotton and the first 3D entry in the series. In the game, players assume the role of the titular young witch who, alongside her furry companion Silk, sets out on her broomstick on a quest to defeat the evil demon Tweed and retrieve a stolen willow candy from York Country. Its gameplay is similar to Panorama Cotton on the Mega Drive. on the Mega Drive. The game was in fact met with mixed to negative reception from critics, most of which reviewed it as an import title. Reviewers unanimously praised the colourful 3D visual presentation but drew comparisons with both Space Harrier and Panzer Dragoon due to its gameplay, which was heavily criticised by many for the frustrating controls. A remake was released in 2024 on PS4, PlayStation 5, Switch, Xbox One and Windows, marking the game's first release outside of Japan. The controls, I suppose, are a little bit clunky, and it's hard as balls later on, but you know what? I kind of love this game. My little girl loves it to bits, in fact. It's colourful, charming, magical, and completely mad. A bit like her, really. It takes quite a while to get used to the aiming system. Cotton herself is rather floaty, and it takes some getting used to, but I just love the visuals and the music and the atmosphere of this game. In my opinion, you owe it to yourselves to give this one a whirl, folks. If you don't have it on a Dreamcast, you can get it on just about every other modern platform. 60 based on 9 reviews. I think that's unfair. Crazy Taxi is a series of racing games developed by Hitmaker and published by Sega. It was first available as an arcade video game in '99, then released for the Dreamcast console in 2000. It's the third best-selling Dreamcast game in the United States, selling over 1 million copies. The game was later ported to PS2, GameCube and PC, with sequels appearing on Xbox, Game Boy Advance and PlayStation portable systems. Each game has the player assume the role of a taxi driver who must accumulate money by delivering passengers to their destinations in the fastest time possible, earning tips by performing crazy stunts before the time runs out. The franchise has been recognised for its innovative gameplay design, which is easy to learn but difficult to master, its use of in-game advertising, and its soundtrack music provided by bands such as The Offspring and Bad Religion. The core gameplay mechanic was patented by Sega, leading to at least one lawsuit over similar gameplay in The Simpsons Road Rage, which was settled out of court. The original arcade game was developed by Hitmaker as a variation from then-current arcade titles. Crazy Taxi producer Kenji Kano noted that the time extension on gameplay was a breakaway of the current 100 yen for 3 minutes style that persisted at the time for arcade games and rewarded players with longer playing times by performing well in the game. In addition to providing a game that could be played in short sessions, Kano wanted a game to explore the daily life and routine of a taxi driver.
Each night when I return the cab to the garage, I have to clean the cum off the back seat.
In the development of the Dreamcast version of the original arcade game, the developers included a larger map in addition to the arcade one, as to create a feeling of being lost and allowing home console players to have fun learning the town. Minigames were developed for this version as to let the player play longer if he improved skill, those are not my words, by offering challenges that were both fun and educational. Yes, I learned a great deal from this one, like how to pop giant balls in a taxi, for instance. It was of course essentially identical to the Sega Naomi arcade original, and that was a wonderful thing. Does any other game encapsulate the spirit of this cheeky, noisy little white powerhouse better than Crazy Taxi? It was clean, it was bright, it was colourful, it was simple, it was fast as lightning, it was absolutely brilliant. 89 based on 37 reviews.
Hey! We all make mistakes. You lousy driver! Hands up! Alright, it's time to check out how you did today. Now let's take a look. Class S license. Game over.
So there you have it, folks. I'm absolutely exhausted from organising all these games, and my hard drive is reeling from having to deal with all that captured footage, but we made it to the end of another episode of the Dreamquest. Tell me, what were your favourite games in this episode? Please let me know in the comments below, and please remember...
Be that one again!